the Kizaru Era. This is a time after I get off of Crunchyroll when I go viral for being Kizaru, the Admiral from One Piece, because of his popularity as a character, and my Kizaru was planned for me to cosplay. Specifically after I learned how to cosplay the first year when I did Killick and Jonah, is exactly when I made the idea, okay, so cosplay is going to be a thing now. I'm going to have a theme for each year, was what I was going to be like, but it's all like, I'm going to be, next year, since I was Killick and Jonah this year, I'm going to be Kizaru and Connie next year. And I literally marathon the whole seasons of Attack on Titan, literally get caught up just so I can be Connie. And my Kizaru turned out great, literally so fucking great that it was fantastic. So it's all good, but here's the main problem. So I redeemed myself from anime, but the con life is pretty ugly due to misunderstandings, due to people hating, due to me actually putting in the work and then try to put bullshit front facing is when I have troubles. But I didn't have that many troubles because I redeemed myself after Kizaru, which is when I had a pretty good standing. Before it was iffy. After I did the shit with Toto, everybody was fucking gaslighting me, saying that, oh, you're this and that. But Kizaru shut everything up, shut everything down. I put on for One Piece. I didn't need to put on for My Hero Academia, but I did anyway. So I get off, and apparently the new fan base of girls is stalking me, and so I become a new name again. After it's like literally I never went to Fanmade and I get famous off of Crunchyroll alone, which is the start of the MySpace era, which I got into when it was mimicking what I was doing my freshman year in high school when I was adding random girls. Now these are actual girls that are literally basically fans on my feed that are literally just waiting for me to get them so they can hop on the hype train. So that was all happening during the era of Kizaru, but it stopped, but it picked back up. What Kizaru did was give me a level of popularity where I'm always going to be a good standing. I'm always going to be at a great standing, but the problem was because of the community I was in, it was very, very toxic due to the nerds and their stalker mentality. They always tried to combat me with some shit that I explained in the last video, that they like to cover up all the bad shit and put what they see front facing, and we're all like, fuck that. So here's how it goes. So the Kizaru era is chaotic and literally toxic, but it is subtle because they can't do anything because I already reached a certain level of popularity, so it was kind of hard to hate on me, but they were still doing little shit to piss me off. Like, this whole era was heavy on Yu-Gi-Oh! So here's how it goes. I strip off the reputation, even in Yu-Gi-Oh! For not knowing how to play, from literally thinking that part 1 Yu-Gi-Oh! Is gonna fly when we have League Marches, and I'm like, you know what, all I have to do is study and I'll kill you, and that's exactly what I did at the club. Except when I learned that Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be a control game with control decks. That doesn't matter what you play, some cards are just too powerful, some decks are just too many hacks abilities that you cannot, I repeat, cannot win against this specific deck, and defeats the whole purpose of the game. The way I played was I was a heavy Yu-Gi-Oh! GX fanatic, and the great thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is it taught me how to literally make the game entertaining. So what was going on was I have a ton of girls stalking me from this new club with Kizaru, and I happen to play at the Yu-Gi-Oh! Club. People were literally bringing their girlfriends at the tournaments just to try and make me jealous. Literally, I know that, I mean, I'm the only reason why they came. So I become regional because I proved myself against a whole bunch of decks that aren't completely controlled but still have hacks abilities. Basically, if you have Borolo Dragon in your extra deck, you're a regional. Metaphorically speaking, you're not exactly regional, but you are up to date with Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you can beat someone with Borolo Dragon in his deck, especially when he summons it, then you are a top tier Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. Okay, so I beat multiple people with a Borolo Dragon deck, and I beat someone who also had Borolo Dragon, so I knew it was pretty good. And the good thing about how to prove that to yourself is that you have to enable their ability to summon so many monsters to a point where they can link summon, and that was really hard, but I got through it. I went through so many good duels, but the majority of the time I was getting my ass kicked by all these fucking control decks to the point where when I finally faced someone fun, it was a good game, and they were literally barely won. It was rarely that I got OTK. My deck is so versatile that I was able to last more than one turn against an OTK deck versus someone else who had kind of like had a ritual summon deck, but he got OTK'd. I lasted one more turn, but that guy also beat me, like, you know, one-on-one, because of course he's the master, but that says a lot about my deck. That says a whole lot about my deck. And that shit was so fucking crazy, because all this time gossip is going around how good I'm doing at Yu-Gi-Oh! And this and that. So it comes down to a point where there was this one girl that was giving me heavy difficulty because of her status in community college, but she was also a cosplayer. So I pulled her, and she was literally on my jock, but she kept on pushing to be a bare minimum provider. She tried to play hard to get bullshit. I'm like, dude, I have fucked way harder bitches than you. I am not doing shit. I am waiting for you to come to your senses and shit. Was where I was coming out with this bitch, but she stayed stalking me, and I didn't care. I'm like, I hope it's not this one who's stalking me. I hope it's the other one who's stalking me this time. So literally, this is so crazy. So here's what happened. So here's the last interaction we get on YouTube with Arturo, because this is the last evidence of me hanging out with Arturo, technically, when I was still doing the con life. So I hit up Arturo, and I tried to take advantage of this opportunity because this bitch was so heavy on my social status. Like I said in the past 2 videos, how I don't have many friends, but how I'm very intelligent and how I don't like to be fucked over, was really where she came at. She's like, you gotta take some pills, I gotta see something, I gotta introduce you to my parents. But little did she know, she's the one begging. And so, literally, so what I did was I made things 10 times easier, because me and Arturo both know what rap means. And, you know, now me and Arturo actually talk like niggas now. Actually talk like people who are commenting on the rap songs and shit like that. Literally, so fucking funny. Like, oh, he said this, or oh, Arturo's like, oh, that couldn't have been a colder bar. Now that me and Arturo both relate to the struggle and shit, is so funny. So what I was doing was, when this girl was heavy on stalking me, I decided to make a counter strategy. I'm like, okay, she thinks I have no friends, so I'm going to hit up Arturo. So I hit up Arturo, and he literally tells me he's about to get off work and he's ready to head out, but he knows what's gonna come. Because Arturo was off screen, because he was a dick rider instead of my friend for all those years I was in the hyperbolic time chamber, all those years where I became a celebrity, Arturo was going through shit, and it came down to a point where I needed his help, where I could have got past a little bit of hypergamy because of the fact that if she would have saw me and Arturo interacting, talking about rap, it would have been over, and she would have invited all her friends, and me and Arturo could have literally been best peas in the pod, and we would literally have no fucking worries. But it came down to it, and by the time while I thought he was got off work, he didn't answer my call, because he knew it would have benefited me socially, but it wouldn't have benefited him, because he would have been nervous even though I know they're stalking too, bro. Why are you nervous? Why don't you act normal? It wasn't gonna happen, because I thought Arturo was something he wasn't. So back to the Kizaru Era, I have a very epic time, speaking of card games, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Club. And I am so proud that even though that it was a gay-ass game, even though they made it completely hacks to the point where you can't have fun, I made the best out of that game, and I had some incredible matches, and I was proud that I got cut up to a point where I am Yu-Gi-Oh! Brains level. Versus early in the year where I didn't know how to exceed someone, I didn't know how to do everything, I just went off of strategy alone. So another thing that was established from the Kizaru was that I am known throughout the cosplay community as being a cool ass guy, and that when you gave me the opportunity to literally a second chance and They said he wouldn't do it, and he didn't do it, and that was one of the best parts about Kizaru. I got to check in with a lot of former girlfriends that literally had my back doing that. You know what? That whole family incident. And it was so good because I got to reestablish relationships with people, and I got to keep a couple of mainstream, and I got way more main girlfriends. If you don't know what a main girlfriend is, like Brooke and Karma were the mains at the time, even though they were heavy sides, I got a whole lot more, and I got to check in with some old girls too that made even more OG. So Kizaru was just a constant reminder that I am great, but me being great was not changing the situation that I'm still suffering because of the win, no matter what it takes reality, to where we have to deal with people like our crew and the fact is the Yu-Gi-Oh Club who only want to play with control decks instead of giving everyone, you know, kind of like a wide open perspective instead of just focusing on winning. You know, and that's kind of like why I love the Kizaru Era, but why it was really detrimental, because the Kizaru Era was all when I said fuck Crunchyroll, fuck cons, and I was still surviving off the of those cons. What it was I still had a great standing, but I was debating if this shit was worth it, but it's like, fuck it, I still have multiple goals, I still have level up next year coming, I still have a very hype performance for Yu-Gi-Oh coming. I had a whole lot of stuff in mind. Doing the whole Kizaru thing, I was practicing everything. My fucking dance moves like I normally do, but instead I had a personal hobby. And I was also macking up girls at the gym, you know, so this was at a time where literally everybody knew that Lisa was father, that everybody knew that I was a Mac, and literally the only thing left to do now was to see what was going on next. Though I ended the Kizaru Era, we're ended my badass, you know, hood mentality, being Kizaru from One Piece, was the fact that I was about to have a date with Karma. So it went all from anime street knowledge, me going to the Yu-Gi-Oh Club, me literally bringing street knowledge to the Yu-Gi-Oh Club, literally still having my dang share of Crunchyroll, to me turning pop Justin Bieber with Karma, being Sosuke, giving everything that they want just to pretend to be the pop star just so I can make the cut, was Sosuke. But Sosuke did exponentially better and did just make a cut, made a whole new foundation as a whole. You know, it proved that I was great. But what Kizaru did was it made me feel more at home because I could be myself more, because when I checked in with some of the girls at Crunchyroll, it's the time where I was still going through the ghetto phase. That's why I was Connie, and that's why I was Kizaru, and that's why I got to check in with my side chicks that was bomb as fuck, and literally, and it was so fucking dank, so much dank that it wasn't even funny. I got to literally keep my standing after Fanmade. I still had a couple of side chicks from that, and I was heavy on Yu-Gi-Oh! Brains. I was heavy on everything going on, you know, even though it was the perspective I had from the time chamber where I was unemployed, but I still had everybody's respect because everything was still there. Everybody knew I could get a job because I went to Fanmade, I went to Crunchyroll, where everything, everybody already knew me. So it was just literally a time where I could sit back and relax and enjoy being unemployed and enjoy my personal hobbies, but I was also known as Kizaru, and that light to spread throughout the whole time because it let everybody know that, you know, this is what the world is, and I got kind of held back. But now that I caught up, now it's time for me to go full-fledged on with this performance. Even though I established that I made some enemies, they are outweighed by my side chicks. They are outweighed by the people who love me. They are outweighed for the people who love the craft of One Piece. Alright? I may have had some haters on the way, but they are outweighed by everybody who told them wrong. Oh no, he's not a predator. He is my friend.